India City Expats Club is a non-profit social organisation and our speakers are volunteers. The club as such assumes no responsibility or liability for the professional reputation of or the quality of services provided by the speaker today.
Problem in Rayong is you've got to move buildings. You know, you take your photo taken here, do a test there. It's not wonderful for handicapped people. The visa changes were effective on July the 15th, and the sheet now being given out is really just a summary sheet, and if you have any issues you can either raise them now or raise them always with the website of the club, and if an answer is required I'll be happy to give it to you. The thing to remember about these so-called changes, which might not seem to affect you directly, some of you, but in fact I think they will, is that I don't think we've heard the last of them. They're quite controversial actually, and not fully clear what will happen in every circumstance. Why is that? These changes were not introduced by the Immigration Bureau, it had nothing to do with them, but by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which then got cabinet approval to introduce them. Now, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs controls what you need to get into Thailand, if anything. If you need a visa or you don't, and how long it will be, is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, not the immigration. The immigration takeover, once you've landed, and you're here in Pattaya, the Ministry of, or anywhere else, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have no say over extensions and what documents you might need for an extension. And this is the main problem, that there isn't one authority responsible for you. It's divided between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the immigration. The distinction being, once you're in Thailand, the ministry has no effect and the Immigration Bureau is king. There are also controversies about these latest changes because there are adverts already appearing in Bangkok that suggest in Chinese only and not in Thai or English that you can buy foreign passports, which you can, say in Cambodia, for 150,000 baht. Not actually legal. You can buy a residence nationality, if you wish, in Cambodia and some other countries for 300,000 baht, according to the Cambodian Embassy website. So why are they able to offer a Cambodian passport for 150,000? I shudder to think. So all these issues, some people say, are reflected in the fact that there's no longer as much control as there was over who comes into Thailand. And there are people like yourselves, I'm sure some in this room, who wonder what is the point in keeping 800,000 baht in the bank or paying 900,000 for a 5-year elite visa if you could come and go in other ways. We'll look at that now just for a minute or two, that issue. The regulation introduced on July the 15th stated that 93 countries, rather than 57, can now enter Thailand without any documentation at all for 60 days. So this includes all the countries that send substantial numbers of tourists here. China, 60 days, India, Russia, 60 days, England, UK, America, European Union, all 60 days if they wish, without any prior documentation. This includes over 90% of the tourists who might come to Thailand for short stays, because the countries not included in the 93, in other words, another 90 say, don't send many tourists anyway. You don't see many from Costa Rica, do you, or Bolivia? And so most people, 90-odd%, no longer need a visa to come to Thailand. Can you extend this 60 days by another 30 days at the immigration, because you can often extend arrival visas, as you know, at the immigration. We think so, but we don't know. Why don't we know? Because the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as I said 2 minutes ago, does not cover what happens once you're here in Thailand and walking about. So I think the immigration, the latest information is, will probably allow you to extend for 30 more days. All right, can you then go to the border, say Pong Nam Ron, and get another 60 days, and then go to the immigration for another 30 and go on forever? Nobody knows. So I doubt it, because for the obvious reason, why would anyone ever bother with a one-year visa or any other type of visa if you could come and go as you wanted? So there's more juice in the orange to come out yet. Yes, sir?
You've been advised that you can now do limitless border loans, get 60 days, 60 days.
Yeah, that has been said by several immigration officers at the airport too, but it's not official in the sense that it's actually from the cabinet or in the Royal Gazette or whatever. It is a rumour. Okay, well, there we are. We don't actually know for sure. So you can, the good news about this visa, and it applies to you as well, no matter what visa you have, is that you can do ad hoc work for up to 15 days now. It was always a difficult issue in the past. What happens if you were painting your next door neighbour's front door? Is that allowed? You were taking a job from a Thai. So it wasn't allowed if they knew about it. And so 20 years ago, there were arrests for people not having a work permit for the most amazing things. Painting your next door neighbours, somebody playing a piano, I remember 20 years ago in the local bar. Where's your work permit? You know, all that. Serving on a condo committee. Ooh, bit iffy that. Now, there haven't been arrests in recent years for these things, but it is interesting that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs statement did make clear through the cabinet that as long as the work is ad hoc, you're not being paid for it, and you're not taking anything away from a Thai, you're probably okay. At the margin, but it doesn't mean you can start selling motorbikes on the beach road this afternoon. It's nothing to do with that. Conferences, trade fairs, making a movie, business meetings, okay. There is a new visa now introduced from the 15th of July, quite different from what I've just said, called the 5-year, repeat, 5-year multiple entry, repeat, multiple entry, DTV, Destination Thailand visa, which is an activity-related visa or a workcation, to give the most, not the vacation, to give the most recent speak. It's mainly aimed at remote workers, but not altogether. Come back in a minute. Very cheap, 10,000 baht for 180 days through Thai embassies abroad. You can't buy it here. What you can do here, or what you shouldn't, is go to the Thai portal of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and you can technically apply for a DTV through the e-portal of the ministry. But the drop-down box, you have to say what country you're in, does not include Thailand. So some people are lying. They're applying for this visa from within Thailand illegally and saying at the moment they're in Hong Kong or North Korea or Singapore, wherever. It's a bit risky, you know. You can easily be proved to be a liar, can't you? Because your passport, if looked at later, would show you were in Thailand when you were applying for the DTV abroad, when in fact you were here. So you have to watch that sort of thing, I think. But it's also available for soft power applicants. Soft power is a wonderful word given by the Thai government to mean all the goodies like sweets and desserts and pats on the back that Thailand gives to its tourists. And the soft power way into the DTV is to enroll for something such as Muay Thai training, you know, throwing somebody over your left shoulder. There are schools for that. You'd have to enroll, I guess. Conferences, maybe. Cookery. Some people enroll for cookery courses here. That would be a soft power DTV, 5-year visa, multiple entry, only 10,000 baht, although the extension here, I'll come to it in a moment. you can also be a medical tourist under this GTV. So you convince the Thai embassy abroad or the e-portal of the ministry that you have a substantial medical reason for coming here, then you can get the 180 days. If you just wrote a letter to say you were having a tooth out, that might not be good enough. After you've got the 180 days, you can come into the country, get 180 at immigration, and then you can go to the immigration after the 180 are finished and get another 180. Now, whether you'd have to show any documents again, that you'd had 2 teeth out since and you're having another 3 out, nobody knows. Why? Because that would be the job of the Immigration Bureau, and they did not announce these changes. It was the Ministry of Foreign Affairs whose authority stops when you enter Thailand. So nobody knows the answer to that. After the 360 days are up, 180 times 2. You can then leave the country, however briefly, no problem, to the border, or go on holiday to North Korea, come back, and receive another 180 days, which then you can extend by another 180 at the immigration. So it looks like it's a 5-year visa requiring you to leave 4 or 5 times in that time abroad, if you want to. You can also bring your family here, providing you can show a marriage certificate, birth certificates of the young people, and so on. Now, what documentation do you need? Well, it's mainly aimed, as we're told, at digital nomads and remote workers. They have to show a contract with a foreign company. This doesn't allow you to do business in Thailand. The idea is you're making your money with foreign companies. And your contract would show that. If you don't have a contract, you're a digital nomad, perhaps a portfolio of work would do. Of more interest to people in this room, I guess, is what about this soft power option? What documentation would you need from the hospital? Well, I don't know. Serious operation, no one's sure. An enrollment paper, perhaps, on a Thai cookery course, but it might only last a fortnight, unclear. But to start the thing off, you would need documentation from the college or training academy that you're enrolling for, or the hospital. But what further documentation would be needed later, nobody knows. It's not even been looked at, so you'd have to wait for that. I know many people are wondering, and it's widely discussed on the internet and the blog sites and the Facebook and all the rest, then, I will apply for one of these and it'll save me a lot of money with retirement visas and so on. Well, it shouldn't really. I repeat, this is an activity-based visa. You're supposed to be doing something related to activity, as I have described, to qualify for it. But would the rules be enforced? Would the documentation be get roundable, or would it be enforced? Well, we don't know, so we'll have to wait and see. But to start the ball rolling, I wouldn't give up your 1-year retirement visa or try to sell your elite card to someone else for 850,000 or whatever. I think it's a bit early. There is more to come, in my opinion. I could be wrong. It's a bit like the income tax debate. Are they going to, the Thai Inland Revenue or the Cabinet, going to tell you more about retirees' pensions and paying income tax next year, or are they not? No one's sure. This is Thailand, and things change quickly. Remember that only yesterday it was announced that the attempt to recriminalize cannabis as a narcotic has been dropped. There will be some new law about cannabis, but it won't be outlawed. And 3 months ago, we were told definitely it'll be outlawed. All these weed shops will be closed, blah, blah, blah. All complete nonsense. Moving on to medical insurance for expats. This is a minor area, but it hasn't come in yet. From September 2024, if you are applying for an OA visa, I know we all know here, Duncan, the difference between O and OA, don't worry. The OA visa from embassies technically requires insurance, although there are some ways around that as well. Technically, it's 3 million baht, and it's going down to 400,000. When you apply for the OA, would that apply to the extension, what annual extension of stay at the immigration? Nobody knows. This document was about the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, all about before you come into Thailand, not when you're here. It's a different organisation. So the OA visa, if any of you have a 3 million baht cover that also have an OA visa, you'll be glad to hear that. But I suspect there aren't many people in that position. I know many people with OA visas who haven't got that sort of insurance, but have a letter from their bank or a book from their bank which covers them in other ways. There is, however, a working party been set up by the previous Police General, Big Joke, or Big Joke or Big Jock. I don't think he is at the moment in the police. And he said several months ago that a working party should be set up to look at all these retirees and the rules about it, and they overlapped and they were conflicting. That's technically still going on. So two things might happen. In a couple of months, there might be a long document about retirees in Thailand. And the other option, which is equally as likely, is you'll never hear about it again. To conclude, with a few other matters, there is, if you know anyone who's a graduate student in Bangkok or around here, a degree student who qualified, they can now stay here for a further year while they look for a job. That's a new thing, if I doubt many of you know anyone in that position. You should also note that visa exempt, which I described 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, is not the same as visa on arrival. Visa on arrival means you can come here without any documentation, but you pay 2,000 baht for the privilege and they give you 15 days, extendable only to by another 7. These are some countries, I quote Costa Rica again, and Bolivia, and Central African Republic, I think, and there are about 30 of them. So that's 90 countries or so visa exempt. 30 visa on arrival. And what about the other 60 countries or so, 50 countries? Well, they need a visa in advance from a Thai embassy to be able to set foot here. So to give an example, a country I worked many years ago in, Haiti, for example, no Haitian can come to Thailand unless they have a visa in advance from their embassy. The problem is, of course, that there are no Thai embassies in Haiti, but leaving that aside, I could give you a long lecture when I was there on how even to get out of Haiti when I worked there for CARE, an international organization many years ago. To get out of Haiti, let alone to get in anywhere else, you had to give your details to the head of the secret police there, the Tonton Macoute, a lady unfortunately named Madame Max Adolphe, and we had a personal interview with her. Many of you will be wondering if these changes have any relevance to tax residency, a subject that's come up here before. The answer is no, but I just wonder how many people who are going to apply for the DTV and think they can live here above 180 days in any calendar year, do they realise that they're just as subject to whatever the Thai Inland Revenue come up with as anyone in this room? I doubt that it's clear to many people. They'll find out later, as we all will. As someone said earlier today, don't jump too high on tax residency. The best thing to do is to wait and see, because you don't have to fill the form in, if you have to fill the form in, till next January anyway, to cover the current year. Lastly, sorry I've gone on a bit. Lastly, do not confuse how busy Thailand is with for tourism with how busy the immigration office is, say in Jomtien. It does seem to be less busy than it was, but be careful of assuming that that means there are fewer people here. You can now do online, or some people can do online, the 90 days without going to the immigration or going to an agent. You can do it. Some have trouble, some don't. I could give you a long lecture on why that happens, but I won't. The TM30 can also be done online, so there are fewer people queuing up. And then the tourists, they're getting 60 days, not 30. So they don't need to go to the immigration after 30 days and show the TM30 and show the 1900 baht and fill a form in and put the telephone number on the back of the form. Why? They've got 60 days. So it's going to look as if the immigration is quite slack, which is good news. But it doesn't necessarily mean that there are fewer people here. It could be a lot busier with tourism, even though the numbers in the immigration fall flat. Okay, thank you very much.
Question.
I have low blood pressure, not high like many of you, so I'll sit down. Too low, mine. Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
You didn't mention the 500,000 that's required for the DTV. Did you not mention that specifically?
No, it's because I forgot. Thank you very much. It's on the sheet. Yeah, you do also need to show that you have access to 500,000 baht. And thank you for raising it, because it needn't be in cash. It says in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs guidance that you can also show other proof, such as a foreign bank account, such as salary slips. Don't ask me what all that means, but thank you for raising it. Whether you've got to keep showing the 500,000 in future years, nobody knows. I suspect you do.
Okay. Thank you, Barry.
I think they're all a bit exhausted. I don't blame you after Duncan's very good talk.
Let me just borrow that for a second. Thank you, Barry. Again, useful information, and many don't know it, but Barry and I tend to collaborate with each other on immigration matters. But a couple of things to mention. One thing, on the DTV, one of our members, Brad Melrose, who spends half his time here, his other half the time in Canada, is applying for the DTV, he told me, and I asked him to give me a report on his experience when he goes back. But he's a digital nomad, so I expect that. But his primary reason for doing it, he said, was because he can no longer have to keep 800,000 baht in a Thai bank. He can keep it in his Canadian bank, and that will suffice. The other has to do with the report that you can now do border runs more than 2 times during a calendar year with the 60 days. And I totally agree with you, Barry, on that. I have seen nothing official. I have seen something on Asian Now by an individual who supposedly is also an expert on Thai matters. But I haven't put it in our newsletter or website for the very simple reason I have not seen anything official. And of course, personal reports, which I rely on quite heavily, I don't anticipate seeing those for at least 120 days, because somebody has to be here 60 days, come back for 60, then they have to come back for the 3rd time at a cross-border, and that is not going to occur for a while. So all I can say is a rumor, it's reported, but I have seen no official announcement of it.
How true.
Thank you. All very interesting. So with the DTV, if I understood you correctly, you have to apply for it from an embassy in your own country?
No, not necessarily your own country, but not in Thailand. You should be outside Thailand to apply for it.
Okay, so if you're applying for it in regard to sort of doing some sort of training here, do you have to organise the training from another country? You know, like, do you understand what I mean? Do you, or because
When I have the microphone, I'll ask you. I can't do it.
But you understood what I was talking about. Yeah, okay.
No, people can organise conferences in Thailand, and people don't have to be affiliated to the new visa, the DTV, in order to attend them. It's the other way around. If you will be attending 15 conferences within the next 3 months or 6 months, maybe you ought to apply for the DTV. It's nothing to do with members of conferences. They can be in Thailand. Nothing to do with organisers. It's simply a facility, if you choose to want to do it, for people who are attending lots and lots of conferences. This visa excuses them from work permits or any other illegal nasties. Okay?
One.
One.
Testing.
Thank you, Barry.
Testing, testing.
John. This thing about 500,000 baht or proof of assets, on the retirement visa, it's 800,000 baht, but can you show proof of assets to get that? Okay, because just... No, I understand. I'm switching to retirement visa. Because in retirement visa, I was able to apply and get a retirement visa at the consulate in Hawaii, and all I had to do was show proof of income. It was more than 800,000 baht a year. Yeah.
Might be different in Singapore. We heard from Duncan, everyone does their own thing, don't they?
Okay, thanks. Yes, no, it doesn't extend to retirement visas. You've got to show it in the... But remember, extensions of stay is the immigration here. What you're talking about in Hawaii would be the Ministry of Foreign Affairs controlling its own embassies, and they have given discretion to Hawaii, Singapore, North Korea, anywhere else to do as they think fit. That's the point.
Testing, testing. Be careful.
Thank you. When I decide in 2010 to leave Germany, some of the countries where I like to become old could be Haiti. And I have never been there, but you have been there. Why did you decide to come to Thailand and not in Haiti?
Because I was offered a job here. Because I was offered a job here. I'm now 83 and I still have a job, so there you go.
Just a reminder that on the website,
One.
if you have an immigration question, I would suggest maybe first you go there and see if it has an answer. If it doesn't, you can always send a question to info@pcec.club, and then I'll do my best to find an answer for you. It involves asking Barry for some information.
A huge round of applause for Barry, who's such a wonderful friend of the club's. You're welcome to take one of the handouts with us. I think this microphone's gone too, has it?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks again, Barry. Thank you for keeping an eye out for all the information when we need it. So,
One.
Oh, this one's working? Okay, cool. All right, well, what a wonderfully